Amazing. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at Canada's largest port. More than $1 billion of goods move through this port every single day. And in fact, when you look at the capacity of Port of Vancouver, it's bigger than the capacity of the next 5 biggest ports in Canada combined. But within the next decade, it's not going to be enough. And it's certainly not going to be enough if we're going to grow this economy, become stronger, more independent, more diversified, trade more with Asia and other parts of the world, which is what our intentions to do. So we're looking through the Major Projects Office at expanding this port. But one of the things, if you expand the port, everything's connected. So expanding the port requires increasing the capacity and the efficiency of our rail system. It also means working to enhance some of our exports of energy and others. And we have tremendous opportunities in order to do that. But in order to seize those opportunities, and let's just put it in perspective, the federal government is looking to invest about $10 billion, more than $10 billion, to help expand the port. Grow our exports away from the United States by more than 50%, create over 17,000 jobs, 18,000 jobs in the construction of that, another 17,000 jobs full-time in the operation of that additional capacity, and that's not counting all the businesses and the knock-on effects. In fact, I was at a canola farm yesterday just north of Innisfail in Alberta, where they will get the benefit of this expanded capacity as we expand agricultural exports as well as products and others. Okay, so that's the opportunity, but everything is connected. And in order to seize the opportunity, we need to do several things at the same time, and that's our intention. And that's why we're working with the Musqueam Nation. We're working with Tsawwassen First Nation. We're working with the Squamish First Nation, the Tsleil-Waututh First Nation. This is unceded territory and traditional lands. There are treaty rights from the First Nations, and we need to work in a way that is building inclusively with Indigenous partners, sharing in the economic benefits, ensuring that the incredible natural resources we have, heritage, patrimony, is not just preserved but enhanced. So the federal government has been investing hundreds of millions of dollars to protect our whales, including the southern resident killer whales just off there. Hundreds of millions of dollars coming to with a part of the Pacific salmon strategy. $3.5 billion for our broader ocean protection strategy. But as important is working directly with First Nations who are managing these habitats, respecting their traditional rights, and creating economic opportunity for them. So that means housing. That means fully participating in the expansions here. It also means developing new ways of the partnerships between us, and I'd like to thank Chief Laura Cassidy of the Tsawwassen First Nation for being here. We can see her home. We can see Tsawwassen if you look over your shoulders just there. And I'd also like to thank Chief Wayne Sparrow of the Musqueam for being here. And of course, full respect to the other leaders of the other First Nations that we've been meeting with in discussions of how to move this forward together. It is a tremendous opportunity to build Canada strong, to build Canada sustainable, to make our country more independent, more resilient, and to do it in the right way, to do it inclusively, to do it in solidarity with those workers over there, creating good union jobs, tens of thousands of good union jobs, not just here, but across the country. Alors, c'est un grand plaisir d'être ici à la port de Vancouver. C'est le plus grand port du Canada. C'est plus grand que les autres, les 5 autres ports qu'avant. Deuxièmement, c'est maintenant il y a des exportations à peu près 1 milliard de dollars par jour. Mais c'est pas assez. La capacité de ce port-ci va être trop petit dans une décennie. Et pour un Canada plus fort, plus indépendant, plus résilient, plus indépendant des États-Unis, il faut augmenter nos exportations. Il faut augmenter la capacité de ce port-ci. C'est nécessaire de faire d'investissements, de grands investissements ici, plus de 10 milliards de dollars par le gouvernement fédéral. Mais en même temps, tout est connecté et il faut travailler dans une manière inclusive avec les Premières Nations, dans une manière de solidarité avec les travailleurs canadiens, des syndicats canadiens et dans une manière soutenable. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle nous travaillons, nous avons des discussions très constructives avec les chefs des Premières Nations. Et c'est la raison que nous investissons des milliards de dollars afin de protéger les baleines, afin de protéger et augmenter, renforcer la population de saumon et dans une manière globale de protéger notre patrimoine marin à travers le Canada et surtout ici à la Colombie-Britannique. Alors, il y a des grandes occasions, on va les saisir, mais on va les saisir ensemble pour tous les Canadiens, tous les Canadiennes. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Partnerships between us, and I'd like to thank Chief Laura Cassidy of the Tsawwassen First Nation for being here. We can see her home. We can see Tsawwassen if you look over your shoulders just there. And I'd also like to thank Chief Wayne Sparrow of the Musqueam for being here. And of course, full respect to the other leaders of the other First Nations that we've been meeting with in discussions of how to move this forward together. It is a tremendous opportunity to build Canada strong, to build Canada sustainable, to make our country more independent, more resilient, and to do it in the right way, to do it inclusively, to do it in solidarity with those workers over there, creating good union jobs, tens of thousands of good union jobs, not just here, but across the country. Alors, c'est un grand plaisir d'être ici à la port de Vancouver. C'est le plus grand port du Canada. C'est plus grand que les autres, les 5 autres ports qu'avant. Deuxièmement, maintenant, il y a des exportations à peu près 1 milliard de dollars par jour. Mais c'est pas assez. La capacité de ce port-ci va être trop petit dans une décennie. Et pour un Canada plus fort, plus indépendant, plus résilient, plus indépendant des États-Unis, il faut augmenter nos exportations. Il faut augmenter la capacité de ce port-ci. C'est nécessaire de faire d'investissements, de grands investissements ici, plus de 10 milliards de dollars par le gouvernement fédéral. Mais en même temps, tout est connecté et il faut travailler dans une manière inclusive avec les Premières Nations, dans une manière de solidarité avec les travailleurs canadiens, des syndicats canadiens et dans une manière soutenable. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle nous travaillons, nous avons des discussions très constructives avec les chefs des Premières Nations. Et c'est la raison que nous investissons des milliards de dollars afin de protéger les baleines, afin de protéger et augmenter, renforcer la population de saumon et dans une manière globale de protéger notre patrimoine marin à travers le Canada et surtout ici à la Colombie-Britannique. Alors, il y a des grandes occasions, on va les saisir, mais on va les saisir ensemble pour tous les Canadiens, tous les Canadiennes. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
So prove me wrong. Let's open this up for discussion. Okay? So Canada met with the Nordic countries, I believe it was last week, to strengthen alliances, economic and also defense. And during the meeting, the Nordic countries said, you know what, we're so close right now. Canada could be a Nordic country. And everybody laughed. But I think we already are a Nordic country and always have been a Nordic country. We're certainly not related in any way to the United States of America. We're just too different. We are the North. We are Nordic. Prove me wrong.
August 19th is just around the corner. Does anyone ever really give a shit anymore? I don't. But, oh, Donnie. Oh, you magnificent orange fucking yard sale. August 19th, 50% again? Because apparently Pumpkin Spice Palpatine looked at the North American economy and thought, needs more fucking stupid. 50% tariff on roughly $20 billion of Canadian goods. $20 billion. And you're standing there pounding your tiny little fists going, Canada's gonna pay. Is that right, Donnie? Canada's gonna pay? That's fucking adorable. Because you keep saying tariff like it's a fucking invoice you can mail to another country. That's not how it fucking works, Tangerine Mussolini. That's not how any of this works. You don't send Canada a bill. You tax the American importer. The American importer pays more. The American business passes the cost along. The American consumer gets bent over the shopping cart. And then you point at Canada like a fucking magician who pulled a ham sandwich out of his sleeve. Look what Canada did! No, Donnie, you did that. You did, Donnie. You fucking economic Oompa Loompa. And here's my favorite part. August 19th is your deadline. You fucking picked it. You threatened the tariff. You set the clock. And now your negotiators are running around trying to get a deal before the deadline you invented. That's fucking incredible. That's not leverage. That's a hostage situation where the hostage keeps asking the gunman if he remembered his own dentist appointment. Mr. Trump, the deadline is Wednesday. Wednesday? Yes. Who said it? You did. Can we move it? Jesus fucking Christ, Pumpkin Spice Palpatine. You're not playing four-dimensional chess. You're losing Connect 4 to a fucking Roomba. And now you're threatening Canadian dairy, lumber, manufactured goods, all kinds of shit. Some of it covered by the very trade agreement you're supposed to be negotiating around. You signed the damn agreement. Then you threatened the damn agreement. Then you blamed Canada for the damn agreement. That's not a trade strategy. That's a concussion with a fucking press secretary. And you want to know what Canada hears when you threaten us? It's not fear, not panic, just... Jesus fucking Christ, this guy again? Because every time you reach for that tariff button, you don't look powerful. You look fucking desperate. You look like the world's angriest landlord discovering somebody painted the kitchen without permission. So go ahead, Donnie boy. Pull that lever. Hit the button. Put your 50% tariff on the table. Be the Tangerine Tyrant. Be the Mar-a-Lago Mad Hatter. Be the fucking Great Value Mussolini. Be Pumpkin Spice Palpatine and his little orange Death Star. Because Canada isn't your fucking punching bag. And if your master plan is to make American businesses pay more, make American consumers pay more, piss off one of your biggest trading partners, and then stand there screaming, America first, while America gets the fucking receipt, then congratulations, Donnie. You finally found the one tariff nobody can dodge. A 50% duty on your own fucking credibility. And buddy, that shit's been collected for years.
Breaking news, Canada became the first non-European country to get access to the 150 billion euro European Safe Fund. Now, just to explain what the Safe Fund is, it's the European Union that is creating a loan for its member states to use this kind of funding to enhance their defense sector. So they can spend it on defense procurement, basically to spend on fighter jets and space technology and anything that is related to defense. The fund is primarily for EU member states, but this is the first non-EU state that has been granted access to it, in the sense that now Canada can sell to the European Union. Like, our defense companies can sell to the European Union with these funds. We're ahead of the line of the UK. The UK was trying to get access, but Canada's ahead of the line. So this is good news for us, good news for our defense stock. I think this will be good for, Bombardier and MDA, which is our space defense giant, and CAE, a couple of others. Also, ignore the hair. This is what happens when I wear my winter cap. So, yeah, I'm sorry I had to do this with a messy hair day, but it was just too good to ignore. So I just wanted to let you know we are getting more closer to Europe every single day. This is just another sign of it.
But today, I would say Canada is also in some ways particularly European because of the strategic interests and the common challenges we are facing. This is a very good day for the transatlantic relationship between Europe and Canada. We saw a very, very strong approval of this report, 482 votes in favor, that is 76%. And that clearly shows that we have an overwhelming majority in this parliament that is understanding the seriousness of this moment right now and the necessity to work closer with our Canadian friends. Because what we are seeing really over the last couple of weeks and months is that Canada is perhaps, and I think you coined the phrase initially and Markani is taking it up, that Canada is the perhaps most European country outside of Europe, and that is not only a matter of cultural connections, of course, some languages that we share, but also of the values that we share to democracy, rules-based order, fighting climate change. But today, I would say Canada is also in some ways particularly European because of the strategic interests and the common challenges we are facing. Canadians and Europeans know full well that the only way to defend our interests and safeguard our interests, whether it be in the Arctic and Ukraine, with regards to climate change, with regards to trade, etc., is if we really work more closely together.
We got breaking news. Canada just made a move that could shake the global economy, and Trump didn't see it coming. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is reportedly leading negotiations to unite the 27-nation European Union with 12 Indo-Pacific countries into one massive economic alliance. That's nearly 40 countries, potentially 1.5 billion people, forming a new global bloc. Why? Because Trump's tariff wars have pushed allies to rethink their dependence on the United States. According to Politico, the goal is simple: build a super supply chain that makes member countries immune to American trade pressure. Carney warned at Davos that global integration is now being used as weapon, tariffs as leverage, financial systems as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities. Translation: allies are hedging against United States and unpredictability. If this alliance becomes reality, countries like Canada, Germany, and Malaysia could integrate their supply chains, leaving America increasingly isolated. European officials say discussions have been very fruitful, and here's the kicker: if it works, other countries could join. The question is this smart diversification or the beginning of America losing its economic dominance?
The ignorant American television host Jesse Waters just made some dumb comments again. They think Canada should just be happily and voluntarily being taken over by the United States. Let's watch this together.
Because if I were a citizen of another country and I was a neighbor of the United States, I would consider it a privilege to be taken over by the United States of America. That's what everybody else in the world wants, American citizenship. For some reason, that's repellent to you Canadians. And I find that personally offensive, Premier.
Well, you know something, Jesse? We're proud Canadians, just like there's proud Americans.
Well, looks like they gotta bring colonialism back. The funny thing is, the first country they want to annex is not their arch enemy like Cuba. The first country they want to annex is their ally.
For somebody who says he doesn't need Canada, Donald Trump sure is talking about us a lot these days.
Canada.
Here's what Donald Trump doesn't want Americans to know. They're the ones that are going to be paying the price. You need our products that are made here in Canada by Ontario workers. When you come after Canadian jobs, we're going to fight like hell to protect every single job, every single worker, and every single Canadian.
Today we launched a new international campaign focused on encouraging Canadians to come visit the great state of California. The state of mind in the United States of America has dramatically changed as it relates to the approach to Canada. And we want to make sure we send a message to our Canadian friends up north to come to a state where 2 million Canadians visited last year, to come visit a state where there's something for everybody. Visit California.
Elbows up. The French have sent their submarines to help Canada. Who you think is going to help Trump? Nobody's going to help Trump. Trump is his own on this one. The world's going to help Canada. The world's going to help Mexico. Nobody's going to help the United States.
Well, here we are. It's Friday, and we are just literally minutes away from the border to Canada as we flee the U.S. who would have thought at age 60 that this would be our day and our plan and our actions? And I know fleeing sounds dramatic and like something from a movie, but it's really true. We just feel so scrutinized and so silenced and so being portrayed as enemies within and being portrayed as domestic terrorists because we're standing up for what we believe in this country and what we believe is being violated and is going into an authoritarian regime, and is in it actually, and has been since he hit the ground running in January, the day he was inaugurated. It's really frightening, and it's really unsettling, and there's just no peace in that the folks that follow him and voted for him are just being barraged with this indoctrination by this cult of personality to believe through just repeated messaging that Democrats are the enemy within, his words, that all Democrats across the board are domestic terrorists, again, his words, that this straw man that they're building with Antifa to give them something to be outraged about, that they feel they need to take up some sort of vigilantism to seek out and seek retribution on their own. It's just whipping up this frenzy of hatred, just like 80 years ago in Germany in the 40s, when the authoritarian regime there and their leader were messaging out the same things about how races within their country were the enemy within, were animals, were rats that needed to be exterminated. Just like this guy said a few weeks ago that Democrats were just a bug on our shoulder that just needs to be squashed and swatted away. There's so many parallels in history that are being seen all over again. And who would have thought here in the 21st century, years, hundreds of years after a civil war, after fighting for freedom in the 1940s and the 1950s to keep authoritarian regimes like this out of our country and off of our soil, that somebody would rise up from within our country with no political experience and whip up this frenzy of ego and power to try to, again, divisively create this enemy that is anti-Christian, because that's a real trigger and that's a real knee-jerk to a lot of his followers, that they're trying to destroy us and they're trying to destroy our values. When you look at it, and they're destroying the values in their actions because of who they are. Anyway, here we are. It finds us crossing over into Canada for a few weeks to get a taste of what freedom and diversity and friendship and everything is like. Again, something that we have lost and forgotten since January, with years to go in this regime. Oh my God. 10 months. It seems like a lifetime. But anyway, we'll go there. We'll check it out for 3 weeks. We'll reevaluate, see what the plan is. If it's longer, if it's extended, if it's semi-permanent, I don't know. But here's where we're at. We'll update you more as we go.